Right, we're back live with you tonight on In Focus, and thanks for staying on. The 2022 mine health and safety statistics revealed that the fatalities in the industry reached an all-time low of 49, according to the Department of Mineral Resources. This is an improvement from the 74 fatalities recorded in 2021. Mineral Resources Department, labor unions in the sector and employers say collaboration led to these pleasing statistics. Let's unpack this a little bit more. We're joined now by Meshack Mbangula, the National Coordinator for the Mining Affected Communities United in Action. Mbangula, good evening, and thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thanks for having me.
The minister says no mine disaster or an accident where 5 or more people lost their lives were recorded in the past 3 years. Is this consistent with your understanding as well of the numbers? If so, what would you say were the contributing factors that led to this?
Firstly, we should be able to distinguish between occupational health, and injuries, because there are those issues of people exposed to chemicals and they have a problem with health. And those people are the people that we see after them going to pension, and then they get affected. And whilst again still at work, they are forced to leave the work because of the health. And maybe talking about injuries, I will say to the contributing factors to that, one, possibly that if you look at, I'm not sure whether the stats are right, because if you look at 2021, there were quite a lot of issues of COVID that happened. Most of people were not really working in the mines. Shares should be gone a little bit down in 2020 and 2021 because of people not working that much. Again, we should be getting stats really from the health department to have done such things. Maybe that will be appropriate. For now, because of maybe the mining closure, I would say, because there's quite mines that are closing down, and it has gone down in 2022 to that 49%. It's not because maybe, because mining sector, it's a very dangerous sector, isn't it? And if the stats are correct, then definitely sure, the health and safety stewards in the mines are the ones who are really trying to make sure everything is happening.
Yeah. One of the big issues that has been, of course, of concern, and that seemingly is being addressed, but of course there are calls that the effort needs to be doubled, is the question of being able to prevent fall of ground accidents. Is there any particular significant application or intervention you think has been put in place in the last 2 to 3 years, barring, of course, 2020, as you put it, many people were actually not in the mines because of the state of disaster regulations that were there. But if you look at 2022 when things were opening up, was there some significant intervention that was put in place to avoid fall of ground accidents?
We've been pushing to say, we shouldn't be profit before people. It should be people before profit. Health comes first. Health and safety comes first, and then profit. And we've been pushing for that to say, forget about maximizing profit, and forgetting that people need to work safely, work smart, and to avoid this, because if there is a fatality, the mine should stop and make sure they address that issue. So with the mine inspectors, and especially in the unions, health and safety, they're playing a role to make sure that there's safety in the mines. But there's one thing that I'm concerned about, and is that in the mines there's that bonus, which is if there is no fatality, you in 6 months you tend to get that bonus. So because of that bonus, some of these fatalities will be hidden to say we want to get the bonus. So that issue itself should be a contributing factor to say we have reduced the fatalities, but only to find out it's because people now are hiding these injuries because they want to get the bonuses. So it's another thing that needs to be really checked seriously. So, but I believe that is if we can have a lot of health and safety stewards in the mines, we will see definitely a change, because those are the people who are getting affected by the injuries, not the bosses sitting in the offices and decide that is the stats have gone down. The people should be giving us the real stats are the health and safety stewards, what is happening down there in the plant. And looking at the mine underground, it's very difficult really to say you can stop the fatalities, because in any case, if the rock have to fall, it's unfortunately if there are people down there. So I'm saying again, they need new technologies to try and make sure that these rock falls are not happening.
So interventions like steel nets, things like bolting that are being put on tunnel roofs and tunnel walls, are you saying these particular interventions have not been that effective?
Well, they will have an impact, positive impact to try and reduce it, because we must remember that we've changed from using wood to use hydraulic jacks to avoid these fatalities underground the mines, and now involving the nets and all these things. It's one of the ways that needs to be really used. But again, I'm saying is that sometimes because of rush of profit, those things are not really followed. But we can talk it on the offices, but when you go underground, you find that there's no compliance. So what is important is that they should be monitoring the compliance to make sure that we avoid these fatalities. But again, I will say it's a very important factor to look at this percentage, whether they are correct or not, but we need to get more of those things, not just because we want to be seen as doing the work, but we don't know what are the real things on the ground because of these bonuses that are happening.
Let's go back then to another issue of concern, and what's your feeling on the fact that, yes, there's been a slight rise in transportation-related accidents. So, in other words, there have been some collisions that have been happening underground there, and the minister saying largely is because the collision avoidance system and the trackless mobile machinery there needs to be adopted and implemented widely.
Yeah, it's very important that at the stage that we are in now, in the era that we have in, technology should have been very much advanced vis-a-vis the old era. But because of the, I will say, the rush that is happening, the only thing that causes this accident is the rush to say we need to make sure that we have enough, material coming in so that we can make a lot of profit. That should be avoided, and set times to say these are the times that the transportation should go to avoid these accidents. Because if you don't have order in underground for transportation, definitely we'll keep on having this incident. Order and timing put in place, you'll see definitely a reduction in this incident. But because of profit, the profit is the issue most of the time, because we need more. So that because there's demand from the shareholders to say we have put a lot of money there and we want to see more money coming in. But if you're not doing enough, we will throw our investment and all that stuff. So it's not only the mines, the shareholders, those who own the mines are the problem, because they are it's like you pushing the taxi driver to give you enough money. End of the day, the same thing that is happening in the mine. Pushing more material to come in so that you can get more gold, platinum, whatever, and so on. And that's the problem with that.
So there are two areas, but let's touch on the first one, then we'll wrap it up with the second one. The one area is the one that, of course, we spoke to you about not so long ago with the collapse of the Jagersfontein tailings dam. There seems to be a sense that when it comes to oversight on the processing facilities, the authorities are dropping the ball there. What do you think needs to be done more, especially in that area?
You see, the mine, before it starts, there's that prerogative that is it gives to make sure that is the work they're going to do is safe, you know. And secondly, the MRE, as the regulator, they've got that task to monitor that is the mine are complying to the health and safety laws. But and you find that is DMR is doing absolutely nothing to monitor these mines. And the mines, they're doing that they like because they're sleeping in one bed with DMRE. They don't have a problem because DMRE doesn't do a lot of work on checking whether the mine complies or not doesn't comply. And again, it should be they should be following the NEMA law, National Environmental Management Act, to say what would be the impact of the mines, or what are the laws of the health and safety to make sure the impact, the negative impact that can take place in that area, and should be addressed. But all those laws are just in the book, are just written, but when it comes to practicality, there's nothing that is happening. No, nobody is monitoring them. And when we engage DMRE to say, look, the mines are not complying when it comes to issues of health and safety, they will say they don't have capacity. And then how do you allow the mines, how do you give licenses to the mines, but you don't have capacity to monitor or to regulate what is happening out there? Because communities are not important, you know, they're just liability to the government. They easily give their licenses and not monitoring what is happening. And after that, there is no one who can account for the damages that is made in the communities. And that's why we are fighting for to say we need to see somebody hold accountable for these damages. As we speak today, not even somebody in Fontaine is in jail for doing what they've done in Fontaine. In any other mines that is happening, nothing is happening. But the Constitution, Section 24, states very well that is we have the right to live in an environment that is not harmful. But how many mines that are breaking the laws? And what is the government doing? It's because they are part of these mines. They are getting shares in the mines. So it's a very difficult state that we are fighting for. But we will definitely make sure that it's at the stage. Because even we're holding the Portfolio Committee on Minerals and Resources to make sure these mines definitely comply.
Meshack Mbangula, appreciate your time as always. Thank you very much for coming on. That is the National Coordinator of the Mining Affected Communities United in Action.